now to a Minnesota homeowner who got a big surprise. Someone showed up at his front door saying he'd reserved the house on Airbnb. The only problem was the house wasn't actually for rent. Diane Macedo here to explain. Hey, Diane.
Just a tiny problem, right, George? And maybe the bigger surprise is when the homeowner looked on Airbnb and saw the address actually was listed. Now Airbnb says this wasn't a scam, it was an autocorrect error.
This is Georgia, the country.
When you come to Georgia, you take a fresh start.
This is Georgia Avenue, 6,000 miles away in Crystal, Minnesota. So how did Airbnb in Georgia, the country, wind up steering a man to Georgia, the street?
Hello. Hi. Are you Tom? No. You got the wrong address.
The trouble started on Wednesday when Jim Belmonte's doorbell rang.
I reserved a room through Airbnb.
The only problem?
That's not us, man. We absolutely are not an Airbnb company. I already charged my credit card. How does that? You're going to have to call Airbnb because I promise, man, it's not us.
But to Belmonte's surprise, the stranger at the door actually had the right address.
Looked it up, and lo and behold, we were on Airbnb.
The listing showed their address, but a very different house.
And the Airbnb ad had, a house with a tower in it. There was mountains. And one thing I can say about Crystal, Minnesota is there really are no mountains at all.
According to Airbnb, their site auto-corrected the address for the original listing in the country of Georgia to that Minnesota address on Georgia Avenue. The company took the listing down after Belmonte brought the issue to its attention and says it's investigating. But Belmonte worries it's not doing enough to prevent something like this from happening again.
There really isn't actually a vehicle for them to be able to, guarantee that the person who is renting the house is actually able to rent the house. In my opinion, that's not enough.
Airbnb says it has launched an internal review. It's also reimbursed that man who showed up at the Belmonte's house, so he will not have to pay his rental fee. But quite a big mix-up and a big surprise for him, twofold. One, when the guy showed up at his door, and then when he looked and realized his address actually was on the
country
site.
of Georgia and the Georgia Avenue. Like it was that big of a difference.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a big autocorrect,
Yes,
right? Every now and then on our phone, you're trying to type a message and it does it. This was a little bit bigger than that.
And he shouldn't have to pay that fee.
Apparently, it was only $25, so he would have gotten the house for a bargain if the rental did go through, but they did compensate.
That house for $25. Wow.